Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
This election season, the stakes are higher than ever.
I think the choice is clear in this election.
Join me, Charlemagne the God, for We the People, an audio town hall with Vice President Kamala Harris and you, live from Detroit, Michigan, exclusively on iHeartRadio. They'll tackle the tough questions, the pressing issues, and the future of our nation.
We may not see eye to eye on every issue, but America, we are not going back.
Don't miss this powerful conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on the free iHeartRadio app's Hip Hop Beat Station.
Hey friends, I'm Jessica Capshaw.
And this is Camilla Luddington.
And we have a new podcast, Call It What It Is. You may know us from Graceland Memorial, but did you know that we are actually besties in real life?
And as all besties do, we navigate the highs and lows of life together. Big or small, we're there. And now here we are, opening up the friendship circle to you.
Listen to Call It What It Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Are lingering depression symptoms affecting you? If you're on an antidepressant and still struggling with lingering depression symptoms, ask your doctor about a lift in relief with Vraylar, cariprazine. Vraylar is a prescription medicine approved for use with antidepressant medicines to treat major depressive disorder, MDD, in adults. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. Results may vary. Vraylar is not approved in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness, feeling like you need to move around, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common side effects. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. For a lift in relief, ask about adding Vraylar, Vraylar. Visit Vraylar.com or call 1-877-6-VRAYLAR to learn more.
I'm NK. And this is Basket Case.
What is wrong with me?
A show about the ways that mental illness is shaped by not just biology,
swaps of different meds,
but by culture and society. By looking closely at the conditions that cause mental distress, I find out why so many of us are struggling to feel sane, what we can do about it, and why we should care.
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Episode 450, Declutter Your Kitchen in 30 Days.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to Frugal Friends Podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are going to walk you through how to declutter your kitchen in 30 days so that it is ready to go before all of our high food income holidays.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good reason to do this.
Yep.
Get it done. Get it done in 30 days or less. But first, this episode is brought to you by Triptychs, a new word I learned. And now, obviously, the sponsor of this episode, I made quick work of that one. What's not to love when it comes to things in threes, like a work of art with 3 sections, or a movie with 3 stories, or the Friendletter with 3 carefully crafted emails to your inbox each week. Each one is a work of art with updates on freebies, ways to save money on the stuff that you're already buying, and helpful money mindset tips. If you're not already getting this lovely weekly triptych to your email inbox, frugalfriendspodcast.com, the best triptych a girl could ask for.
Probably. You're probably right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Most triptychs are quite old and religious and art.
Okay. You learn something new.
Or weird
every
movies.
day.
Very odd movies.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Anyways.
So instead, get the Friendletter, frugalfriendspodcast.com.
Anyways, we love decluttering because we know that the physical spaces and how we process the things in our visual line of sight, the way we feel about our physical spaces do have an impact on how we make spending decisions and what we buy. So when we can get not get rid of, but we can move away from the complexity bias that gets us to add more things to solve our problems. And I don't think we see that anywhere more than in the kitchen with every small gadget and appliance that is promising to make our work easier in the future. Right? When we can get away from that complexity bias that moves us to add, and we can get back to simplicity so that we're utilizing and we're efficient, then things outside of the kitchen work better. So if you love decluttering, especially in the kitchen, catch some of our other episodes. We've got episode 396, which is our minimalist pantry formula. Minimalist pantries have been something we've been passionate about on the show since day one. Instead of having stockpiles, we prefer minimalist pantries. 348, declutter your home in 30 days. We also love 30 days. It just feels like a really
we do. Take
time.
it a month at a time.
And then episode 302, how decluttering saves you money with Ingrid Jansen. So those are some really good ones. Today, it's all about the kitchen. So we are going day by day, but some days are the same. So it's not like, so different. So that you can do this in a doable way. We're not going to make you create a big old mess and then have to get overwhelmed and just never touch it again. We're going to make this doable so that no matter what's going on in your month, that you can get this done.
Of course, you could make a big old mess. If that's your style, you don't want to elongate it out 30 days. That's totally fine. But you came here for the 30 days.
No, but here's your thing. Everybody's style is going to be, I'm just going to get it all out in a weekend. I'm just going to do it, pull the Band-Aid off. But humans, most of us are not able to do that. So while our brains think we can, it's these weekend warrior projects that turn into 1, 2, 3, 4 week misery months.
Yeah.
So let's not get miserable.
No. Now, we are going to be looking at this article that comes from Modern Minimalism, and it's called
How to Declutter
Your
Kitchen.
And the ultimate guide on it. So it is quite lengthy. I do think it's a great resource. We have it linked in the show notes, but this article does not give you a breakdown of how to do it in 30 days. That's something yours truly, Jen and I, are going to be adding in as kind of a template, how you could approach this over the course of 30 days. But I want to highlight some of the things that they start off talking about regarding the reasons to even go about doing this, because you're going to need to pump yourself up for this.
You're going to need internal motivation because the external is going to wear off real quick. And so you're going to need to know why you're doing this.
I would say for me, the kitchen is the most complicated part of my home. I think, what do they call it? The heartbeat of the home is the kitchen. And it has the most stuff in it. It is probably the room of your house that has the most cabinets.
Mine needs a cardiologist.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's good.
I got issues.
If it's the heartbeat, I need one of those AED machines. Okay. So reasons to do this. It is going to be easier to maintain if we are able to kind of declutter, simplify. Every time we go into the kitchen, we are going to be less likely to become overwhelmed by it, which is reminding me actually of a study we talk about in our book that we just wrote, buywhatyoulovebook.com, where a group of women were studied on their perceptions of how messy their kitchens were, and those who perceived that's an important part of this. The perception aspect, not just, is your kitchen messy or not? Those who perceived their kitchen to be chaotic, overwhelming, messy, disorganized, made or didn't eat as nutritionally. They weren't preparing as many home cooked meals. And if they were, it wasn't as healthy, as beneficial to their physical health. So there's a whole other reason to be simplifying our environment, because then we're going to be more likely to want to engage in that environment and make meals in that environment.
Yeah. And I'll make a note on the perception. The episode we just did on how influencers are lying to you, that plays a huge role in how we perceive our own kitchens. If we're looking at a bunch of other kitchens, because we very rarely go into our friends' houses anymore to see their kitchens. We're more likely to see somebody we don't know online, all their kitchens, and we think that's a normal kitchen, when in reality, those are not normal kitchens. Those are viral kitchens. But we should be going into our friends' homes more often, seeing regular kitchens. What we see does influence how we perceive.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Other reasons to be doing this is that it can lead to more efficient meal planning, because if we know what's in our pantries, what's in our fridges and freezers, we can plan our meals around that and more quickly. Leads to faster meal prep. Your things might be more accessible. You know where the things are going to be. More savings across the board because you've meal prepped, because maybe you're not buying as many gadgets preemptively thinking it will make you a better cook in the kitchen, and just a more calm and peaceful cooking environment, which we already know about all the benefits of decreased stress and less overwhelm.
Yeah. And I joke about the heartbeat of my home needing a cardiologist, but it's because you need to be going through and reevaluating your kitchen. I would say at least once a year. Once a year, once you've got it down, is a good time. My pantry, we just renovated our home and finished it in April. I'm still learning how I want the things stored in my home. I haven't had home storage in 2 years, and so I'm still figuring that out. So I feel like my cabinets and my pantry, my linen closet is getting cluttered more easily because I'm reassessing when I put things back where they're going to go.
Yeah.
So my pantry already, I have decluttered it once since April when I actually put it back together, and it's due for another one. So there's things like moving that can spur on some of that too, that makes the need more frequent. But I think everyone should be doing this once a year just as a reset.
Yeah.
So the first step, are we going to get into our 30 days now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So step 1, and we're estimating this will take about 2 days. So you can get this done after work, Monday, Tuesday, if you're starting on a Monday, but you don't have to wait for a weekend to start this. It's assess your kitchen clutter. We're doing an assessment. So what are the main types of clutter in your kitchen? This is before we even start, right? We tell you with your spending, don't start budgeting and don't start changing your habits until you've done an inventory of what you have been spending on.
Yeah, get a lay of the land.
Yes. So that's the 90-day transaction inventory for your spending. We're doing something similar, but, simpler with this. So what are the main types of clutter in your kitchen? The things you want to find a solution for. For example, do you have a lot of paper clutter on your countertops? So you'll want to, when you're in the organizing phase, you want to make sure you include something that keeps papers from piling up. What areas are not being used to their full potential? You can really get an idea of when your kitchen's messy. And I learned this from Dawn Madsen of The Minimal Mom when we had her on our show. She loves to use her messy kitchen as a guide on how to organize it, because where things are is where you're going to want to store them closest to.
Yeah.
And so use the clutter you have. Look at, okay, what areas are not being used to their full potential? What can I maybe move over there? So come up with some ideas how you could better use all the space in your kitchen. And then can things be moved to improve the organization? Take advantage of the messiness to really make a plan to start the inkling of making a plan.
Yeah, it does not mean that you're even touching anything.
Right. No,
yet.
you're not touching anything
At this
yet.
stage, those first couple of days, you're just assessing what's going on in here. What am I going to have to tackle? And maybe begin to think about the order. But that goes to number 2, which is then your planning and preparing day. I think you only need a day for this. This would probably be about day 3. If you need to take a break or it for some reason ends up taking you 2 days, that's fine too. I think there's a lot of wiggle room with this, but this shouldn't take long. But at this stage is only when you've now assessed and you're going to make a plan. A checklist can be really helpful. They have one on this website that you could use, or you could make your own, but it is broken down into sections from countertops to cabinets, drawers, and shelves, to pantry, that's your dry food storage, to your cold food, your refrigerator and freezer. And under each of these categories are subcategories. Like, for instance, on your countertops, you've got the paper piles, the things that don't belong to core. You're still not touching anything. You're just making a plan. You are coming up with what that plan's going to look like. And you're even going to decide in what order will you go. One of the things we love to talk about when it comes to decluttering is beginning at the easiest place first. Don't start with your sentimental kitchen belongings that were gifted to you from your great-great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Begin at the place that you know pretty quickly, I know how to deal with these things. So whether that's going to mean your countertop, or that's going to mean your cup cabinet, or, specific to your silverware drawer. And don't be concerned if you're like, I don't have a cup cabinet. Cups go in 4 different cabinets. That's okay. We'll get there. But begin to identify, using a checklist or creating your own, what are all of the different areas of your kitchen you want to tackle, and begin to prioritize where you will begin first. Usually going from easiest to most difficult will be kind of how you plan that one out. They then talk about the different supplies that you might need. I believe that they are encouraging through this article that it is going to happen in like a day or a weekend. It doesn't have to be, even though there might be a collection of supplies. So they talk about having an empty sink for being able to rinse out containers or bins, having empty boxes that you can put anything that you want to give away for donation into, trash bags, recycling bins, a hand vacuum so you can clean the bins, drawers, and cabinets as you go along, any kind of cleaning spray or soapy water, rags. They say, and I'm going to push back against this, a measuring tape so you can plan potential organization solutions. And I'm going to say, add an extra challenge in that you will not purchase anything to organize your kitchen. I think that is a fallacy, a myth that we don't need to fall victim to. It does not need to be aesthetically pleasing. It needs to be functional. And most likely you have things around your house that you can use to be able to corral items, or there's another way to be able to organize without purchasing items. I would say do the organization first, and then, and we'll get to that, that'll be step 5, but then decide after you've given it a couple weeks, what might you want to purchase. But to start with, give yourself that challenge of not doing that. And then your decluttering checklist. Now, most of these things, even though you've collected them, it doesn't mean that they can't be set aside to revisit your kitchen decluttering on another day. And I would say that most of this collection doesn't need to happen until the days that you are doing this. But I would agree with the empty sink, a place where you can put the donations the stuff you're getting rid of, and a rag so you can wipe things down as you go.
Well, I like the idea of gathering all this stuff together. We have a cleaning bin with all of our cleaning products. It makes it really easy to have everything in one place. We take it to the place that's going to be cleaned. Everything's there, and then we move it back to the pantry. And so this is the same idea. If you can get a box or something temporary, or maybe something that you already have that can be used as a cleaning kit in the future, then you've got all your stuff ready so that when you start decluttering, which is the next day, you can just take it the day before. You can move it to that section so you already know when you get home, this is the section that's getting, decluttered and cleaned. And then we do that. We put everything back, and then we move the kit to the thing that's getting decluttered and cleaned tomorrow. So it's already there. We visually see what's on the docket for tomorrow. It just makes it is that barrier to entry, makes it easier to get over.
It's all prepped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's I really like that idea that it's mise en place, right? And when you're cooking, you're putting everything that you need for the recipe out in front of you so that it's easier to get to while you're cooking. And this is the same idea. Make it easier to declutter and then clean before you put the things back in so that you actually follow through with what you're doing.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
This election season, the stakes are higher than ever.
I think the choice is clear in this election.
Join me, Charlemagne the God, for We the People, an audio town hall with Vice President Kamala Harris and you, live from Detroit, Michigan, exclusively on iHeartRadio. They'll tackle the tough questions, the pressing issues, and the future of our nation.
We may not see eye to eye on every issue, but America, we are not going back.
Don't miss this powerful conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, on the free iHeartRadio app's Hip Hop Beat Station.
Hey, it's Mike and Ian. We're the hosts of How to Do Everything from NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Each week, we take your questions and find someone much smarter than us to answer them.
Questions like, how do you survive the Bermuda Triangle?
How do you find a date inside the Bermuda Triangle? We can't help you, but we will find someone who can.
Listen to the How to Do Everything podcast on iHeartRadio.
Do you ever wonder where your favorite foods come from? Like, what's the history behind bacon-wrapped hot dogs? Hi, I'm Eva Longoria. Hi, I'm Maite Gomez-Rejon. Our podcast, Hungry for History, is back. Season 2. Season 2.
Are we recording? Are we good?
Oh, we push record, right?
Okay. And this season, we're taking an even bigger bite out of the most delicious food and its history.
Saying that the most popular cocktail is the margarita, followed by the mojito from Cuba and the piña colada from Puerto Rico. So all of these
we thank Latin culture. There's a mention of blood sausage in Homer's Odyssey that dates back to the 9th century BC. BC? I didn't realize how old the hot dog was. Listen to Hungry for History as part of the My Cultura podcast network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey friends, I'm Jessica Capshaw.
And this is Camilla Luddington.
And we have a new podcast. Call it what it is. You may know us from Graceland Memorial, but did you know that we are actually besties in real life?
And as all besties do, we navigate the highs and lows of life together.
And what does that look like? 1,000 pep talks, 1,000,000 I've got yous, some very urgent I'm coming overs. Because, I don't know, let's face it, life can get even crazier than a season finale of Grey's Anatomy.
And now here we are, opening up the friendship circle to you.
Someone's cheating?
We've got you on that.
In-laws are in line?
Let's get into it.
Toxic friendship?
Air it out.
We're on your side to help you with your concerns. Talk about ours, and every once in a while, bring on an awesome guest to get their take on the things that you bring us.
While we may be unlicensed to advise, we're going to do it anyway.
Listen to Call It What It Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So then we move on to day 4. And honestly, you could, if you're going to maybe make your plan day 3, you could assemble all of your, your clean and declutter kit on day 4 if you need that extra time. I would say definitely if you need to find some extra boxes around your house for your donate and your trash, stuff, then take it on day 4. But if you're able to do everything on day 3, day 4 is when we start doing the dang thing. And we break up the sections on the checklist per day. So we have given you 15 days in our non-patented theoretical 30-day plan. But you should really look at the sections in your house and divide those up. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 18, whatever. Maybe you're going to need to take a few days off. Maybe it is 15 days, but on 4 days, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So what you really need is 19 days.
And again, that's part of that planning stage of what you're going to tackle on what day.
Yes. So now you're doing it. You're breaking up the sections of the checklist, and we're starting with the easiest one. What section would you start with, Jill?
I would. They list countertops. That is probably where I would begin for multiple reasons. I think I could easily identify where the things on a countertop would need to go or set them aside for later sorting. But it also frees up the countertop for pulling things out of cabinets or drawers. So I probably would start there.
Yeah. So tips for decluttering the countertops: remove everything that doesn't belong, jackets, backpacks, keys, toys. Do a quick purge of the paper piles. So this would be something that you're going to have to sit down, and if you have a piece of paper that's just living on your counter because you need to make a phone call, this is it.
This is the time to do it.
This is the time to make the phone call.
Part of cleaning your kitchen.
That's why one day is just countertops. Maybe one day is just paper, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're then getting rid of those paper piles, put away small appliances, the ones that have a place. If they don't have a place, maybe they just get moved somewhere for the time being. If there's a small appliance you don't want to live on your countertops, take it off now, because then while you're decluttering, put it kind of where you want it to live. So then when you're decluttering that section, you can more easily, it's incentivizing you to find a place for that small appliance. So any small appliance you don't want living on your countertop, move it now. Get rid of countertop decor. Seriously, spare yourself. I have a candle on my countertop, and honestly, I don't know why. It just contributes to the clutter on it. It's such a horrible idea. I just moved it.
I made an unpopular move when we did our kitchen, or after it was done, of not putting anything on the island. The first day I did put a bowl out with some stuff on it, but I found myself constantly moving the bowl, and the bowl being in the way of me wiping down my countertops, that I just have decided I'm not a person with center decor on my island. It's not functional for me. So you're going to walk in and you're just going to see a blank island. There's no flowers,
but we never do. There's
candles,
food usually,
bowls of
snacks.
fruit. There's nothing on it because it's not functional for me. So get rid of any ideas that maybe even social media is giving you that you've got to have decor in your kitchen. It can just be functional.
Yeah, I do have a bowl of fruit on my counter so that we use it.
That's great. If it's functional for you, that's awesome.
Yeah, so countertops are definitely a good place to start. And then we move into cabinets and drawers. And depending on how many cabinets and drawers you have, this could take 7 of your days. So I would say maybe try for a cabinet or drawer a day, or
and this
2.
isn't your food yet. We're talking about cabinets and drawers that have your kitchen utensils, your bottles, your all that stuff. We'll get to the pantry later.
Yeah. So take one category at a time, pull everything out of that one drawer or cabinet, sort items, see what you have, clean the shelves, drawers, storage bin, give them a quick vacuum wipe down, and then decide what to donate, toss, or keep. And consider new organization options. Maybe you have some bins in one place, but contemplate if they could be better utilized in another place. So this is time not to think about buying new stuff, but if the organization stuff you already have is being used the best where it is. And again, keep like items together. If you're pulling all this stuff out of a drawer and half of it you don't want there to live there anymore, move it to the place where you want it to live. And then when you get to that drawer tomorrow or the next day, then you're incentivized to find a place for it there. Next would be pantry. So now we're looking at dry food. So this is also could be cabinets. I would say an interim between this would be cabinets with dry food and then pantry with dry food. So that's really where I need to be right now. So this one, give yourself plenty of time, specifically on the pantry. I would say this might take, 5 days. I don't know how big your my pantry's not even that big. So mine might take like 2 days. But again, this is a big one. So take everything out, clean the shelves, bins, drawers, go through the food, consolidate, check expiration dates, donate things that are good, but you don't think you're going to use anymore. And then again, consider the storage bins. Is what you're using best utilized where it is? Could it be moved somewhere else? And then we get to our last part, cold food. So this, I think, will take about 2 days, one for fridge, 1 day for freezer. Again, checking expiration dates, organizing as we put the food back, and just making sure we keep similar items together, labeling things that could use some labels, and all that. So that's around 14 to 15 days.
I'll add in part of the prep stage too. Sorry to backtrack a bit, but as I'm thinking about organizing with the challenge of not spending money, that part of prep can be keeping some boxes around, whether you've ordered some recent things online and you're going to have maybe some cardboard boxes, or even as you declutter your pantry dry goods, many times we come across the boxes that they came in, the box for the granola bars or the gummies or the whatever it is. And I often just hack the top off of them, and they are my storage containers, maybe for that very same food item or for other things. It is amazing the options we can have with the cardboard boxes we already have on hand that can be really great for our dry food storage, possibly even used in the freezer, depending on what kind of freezer you have. So that can be part of the creativity of, it doesn't mean you can't organize, just use what you already have and don't worry about it being pretty or clear. That brings us to number 4, which is going to be drop off your donations. So as you've gone through this process, you've probably compiled both food and kitchen gadgets, kitchen supplies that you find you no longer need. They also, in this article, list out questions you can be asking yourself along the way as you're decluttering that will help you determine, should I keep this? Should I give it away? And so as you've decided, these things I no longer need, I want to donate this, put that, you will have had those in piles. And we and this article are advocating, get rid of it quickly. Don't let it sit around, because it will just become overwhelming to you. Or
you'll just let it sit in the trunk of your car for months.
So this is day 19 to 20 in the overall timeline of things. And you can give yourself a couple of days if you need to take a day off. If it doesn't align with when you're already going to be out and about, fine. But somewhere between day 19 to 22, we are dropping off these donations. We're not letting the boxes and the things linger around. So whether you're taking items to Goodwill or Salvation Army or Habitat for Humanity or a Big Brother, Big Sister, or just a local thrift store, and looking up different food donations. If you have non-expired food items, if there's a local food pantry, homeless shelter, soup kitchen, women's shelter, church, there's plenty of organizations that might be willing to take some of the food that you realize you just won't eat. You thought you would. You were trying to diet out. It's not going to work. Your kids decided they hate that food that they once loved, and you just got to get it out of your house. Take some of that time to donate it.
Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the first 3 weeks. So now that we're looking at the last week of our 30 days, 21 or 22 to 30, this is when we're going to be optimizing our organization. So we've put everything into place, but we still want to be very intentional for 1 week to make sure your kitchen is organized in a way that will keep it decluttered and keep it organized, that we're maximizing the efficiency. So some of the tips for doing that are keeping things close to where you use them. We already talked about that. Make sure you're using your mess to dictate where things should be stored. Maximize your drawer space. So this is where we're looking at if we moved around organization containers, did we move them to the right place? Do we want to move them back? Maybe I do actually need something else. This is the week that we'd make that decision, and we don't actually buy it until day 30, okay? We're not going out and buying the stuff. We're living with what we've done for at least a week before we go out and commit to buying something else. Make the cabinets more user-friendly. So pull-out shelves, lid organizers, Lazy Susan's spice rack shelf. These are all things after you've lived with it and you think this actually could make my life much easier. That's when we get it.
And I will add that all of the tenets of frugality still remain.
Mm-hmm.
Can it be purchased pre-owned?
Yes.
Can you find this at the thrift store? Can you find what you need on Facebook Marketplace? I mean, I have definitely used the organizers for cabinets where it kind of gives you an extra shelf in the cabinet. I do have an egg organizer in my fridge because it allows me to store more than 12 eggs at a time that I got at a yard sale. Like, you can find these things. You just don't have to pay buku bucks for it from the Container Store.
Yeah, definitely. And then consider using some free wall space. So a magnetic knife strip or hooks for frequently used cooking utensils. Looking at your walls, seeing if anything can be optimized on there, and embracing your bins. This one says consider getting a label maker. And
what?
Yeah, no. You don't need a label maker. You have a Sharpie and you have tape.
Yeah.
Or stickers. If anything, you don't need a label maker. Just get some nice white laminated stickers, and that will allow Sharpie to be written on them, and you can use those.
Yeah, if you even need that. You don't have to label things. But yeah, if you've got multiple people living in the house and you want to make sure things go back to where you want them to go back to, a system like that could be useful.
Yeah,
but
if
you don't need a label maker
multiple
for it.
kids and you need to assign them their own snack bins so nobody's stealing out of other people's snacks, then maybe that's good for you. But you don't need a label maker.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I also like how they wrap up with some tips for maintaining this clutter-free kitchen. Just encouraging to add in habits like 5 to 10 minutes every morning, tidying up the countertops to keep from accumulating stuff. Not putting things just down, but putting them away, beginning to form a habit of returning items back to where they belong. Stop buying kitchen gadgets is just another tip here. For some of us, that might be easier than for others. But remember the pain of having decluttered your kitchen, and ask yourself some of those same questions that you had asked in decluttering of what will this solve for me? How often will I use it? Is the price to benefit worth it? Is this a real problem that I've already been trying to solve for a while? Be sure to create that pause before purchasing, and just doing some of these mini decluttering sessions, whether that's once a month or once a quarter, even once a year is all right too, depending on kind of how chaotic things might get. But allowing yourself an opportunity to relook at, is there anything that needs to be refined, can help avoid 4 years from now needing to do this entire overhaul all over again.
Yeah, the last one really speaks to me, and it's one that I really need to tell the public, and it's say no to freebies. I know this is going to be very controversial coming from the Frugal friends, but free samples, free water bottles, like free, cups and stuff with branded logos, to-go condiments, takeout cutlery, just don't take them. And they won't clutter your kitchen, and they won't cause you to need to declutter so often.
Even if you are a person who gets takeout occasionally, you can tell them not to put the cutlery in the bag.
Yeah, say, I don't need cutlery. I don't need extra soy sauce.
I do always feel bad throwing those things out, so I either don't ask for them, or it's what, if I have a few, I'll keep them in my lunchbox or the cooler or my car. There are times that I need that, but there's only so much that you need. You don't need to collect all of it. But do you know what we do need to collect all of? And we can say yes to.
Is never controversial for us.
The bill of the week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the bill of the week.
Hi, Jen and Jill. My name's Deanna. I live in the Kansas City, Missouri area. My bill of the week is after being exposed to COVID and having to take tests at the urgent care facility nearby, which I didn't realize my medical plan made it that I had to pay almost $190 each time I visited. I spent some time figuring out why I had multiple cards from my medical insurance provider, and come to find out I had about $200 in my FSA from last year that was still available to me. That FSA was limited purpose, but I was able to put in a reimbursement submission for my contact lenses that I planned on floating on my credit card. And so that money's now coming back to me, and I'm able to pay off some of that extra debt that I was not anticipating. Super excited that things kind of worked out, and listening to you guys helped me get creative.
Whoa, Deanna, way to go.
Yeah, that's really great. And I think a helpful reminder for all of us to be looking into our options when we get especially medical bills. I think we can often just resign ourselves to paying whatever comes through the mail, but recognizing whether we can negotiate those costs, or we can look back into what other benefits do I might have that I may have forgotten to use. And even if, so FSAs, usually the money only lasts you for a certain year, but there could be some grace periods with an FSA of how far beyond that year you can take advantage of any money that might be left in that account, which sounds like that worked for you, Deanna. So,
or if it's an HSA that you're not actively investing in, you don't want to, if there's some money in there from a match or whatever, then yeah, that's great. It's great to have, it's just great to use that money and not let it just sit there and you forget about it.
Yeah. If you all are listening and you have a bill that you were able to pay off with some creative, thoughtful, resourceful ideas, or your name is Bill, visit us at frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill to leave us your bill. We can't wait for it.
This election season, the stakes are higher than ever.
I think the choice is clear in this election.
Join me, Charlemagne the God, for We the People, an audio town hall with Vice President Kamala Harris and you, live from Detroit, Michigan, exclusively on iHeartRadio. They'll tackle the tough questions, the pressing issues, and the future of our nation.
We may not see eye to eye on every issue, but America, we are not going back.
Don't miss this powerful conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on the free iHeartRadio app's Hip Hop Beat Station.
Hey, it's Mike and Ian. We're the hosts of How to Do Everything from NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Each week, we take your questions and find someone much smarter than us to answer them.
Questions like, how do you survive the Bermuda Triangle?
How do you find a date inside the Bermuda Triangle? We can't help you, but we will find someone who can.
Listen to the How to Do Everything podcast on iHeartRadio.
I felt too seen, dragged.
I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
So I basically had what back in the day they would call a nervous breakdown.
I was crying and I was inconsolable.
It was just very big, sudden swaps of different meds.
What is wrong with me?
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Finally, a show for the mentally ill girlies. On Basket Case, I talk to people about what happens when what we call mental health is shaped by the conditions of the world we live in. Because if you haven't noticed, we are experiencing some kind of up conditions that are pretty hard to live with. But if you struggle to cope, the society that created the conditions in the first place will tell you there's something wrong with you, and it will call you a basket case. Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey friends, I'm Jessica Capshaw.
And this is Camilla Luddington.
And we have a new podcast, Call It What It Is. You may know us from Graceland Memorial, but did you know that we are actually besties in real life?
And as all besties do, we navigate the highs and lows of life together.
And what does that look like? 1,000 pep talks, 1,000,000 I've got yous, some very urgent I'm coming overs. Because, I don't know, let's face it, life can get even crazier than a season finale of Grey's Anatomy.
And now here we are, opening up the friendship circle to you.
Someone's cheating?
We've got you on that.
In-laws are in line?
Let's get into it.
Toxic friendship?
Air it out.
We're on your side to help you with your concerns. Talk about ours, and every once in a while, bring on an awesome guest to get their take on the things that you bring us.
While we may be unlicensed to advise, we're going to do it anyway.
Listen to Call It What It Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you ever wonder where your favorite foods come from? Like, what's the history behind bacon-wrapped hot dogs? Hi, I'm Eva Longoria. Hi, I'm Maite Gomez-Rejon. Our podcast, Hungry for History, is back. Season 2. Season 2.
Are we recording? Are we good?
Oh, we push record, right?
Okay. And this season, we're taking an even bigger bite out of the most delicious food and its history.
Saying that the most popular cocktail is the margarita, followed by the mojito from Cuba and the piña colada from Puerto Rico. So all of these
we thank Latin culture. There's a mention of blood sausage in Homer's Odyssey that dates back to the 9th century BC. BC? I didn't realize how old the hot dog was. Listen to Hungry for History as part of the My Cultura podcast network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
Lightning round. All right, so what is a common kitchen gadget you found you don't need or use? So I think it's my blender, but with the caveat that Travis got a Ninja blender with the cup that goes on top, like the flip one, like the Magic Bullet. And I use that one much more now because I'm just making one smoothie, and now I use that. He bought it for himself for work, but it was too loud, and it is so loud. It is obnoxious.
Yeah.
But I use that thing pretty frequently now, and it's small, so I keep it on my counter, whereas my blender is large, and I keep it in the pantry.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I think that's that. I still have my blender, but yeah, it's the...
What are you going to do with your blender?
I don't know.
Longer use?
Well, I still have to declutter the pantry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get something that is better than what you had used, it can be hard to part with the other thing because you remember, I did used to use this. This used to come in handy for me.
Yeah. But and Travis got this Ninja little Magic Bullet thing on Facebook Marketplace. And I have benefited from it. So I never anticipated this new appliance coming into my life, but now that it has, I'm so confused.
I'm so confused.
I don't know. I don't know who I am anymore.
For me, it would be a griddle. I used to have a griddle at one point. I did use it, but I found that I can live life without it, especially because the amount of times I make pancakes is pretty limited. I know there's other uses for a griddle, but I don't. I use it for pancakes, and I can make those on the stove in a regular big old pan.
Now that we're a family of 4, we do use our griddle because we do
it all
need
at the same time.
Yeah, it's much better than using a pan.
I'm not saying I'll never have one. I'm just saying I've lived for 4 years without one and I've been okay.
You can borrow mine whenever you need.
Yeah,
is the thing.
The other thing that I'm constantly teetering about is my Instapot.
You just need to get rid of it.
But
Jill.
Here's the thing.
You don't use it.
We do get together with people and make like food together, and people have borrowed it from me. But yeah, would I keep it so that I can just lend it out?
Well, why don't you use it as a slow cooker?
I do also have a slow cooker. Well, I know, it's a problem.
Well, then if people are borrowing your Instant Pot more than your slow cooker, maybe you get rid of the slow cooker and just use the Instant Pot as
I gotta
the slow
figure out
cooker.
which one I want. I'm still unsure.
Yeah.
The slow cooker is really big, and I have these visions that like someday I'm going to make like a really big roast for people. I got the slow cooker for free.
Say no to freebies.
It's like, what if I get rid of it and then down the line I do want it, and now I've got to pay for it when I had one for free?
You would
that
never
did fit in my kitchen
because you can just borrow a slow cooker from somebody who has
That's so
one.
true. I know. Yeah, I am not one to like hold on to things, but the kitchen stuff can be my
so hard
downfall because you want to have the options for when these cooking opportunities present themselves.
That's why it's good to have these conversations with friends, because then you know, like, oh yeah, you don't need to buy a griddle. I have a griddle. Anytime you need to use it, let me know.
Yeah.
You don't know what your friends have because we don't go into our friends' kitchens enough. We don't invite people into our kitchen enough because it's cluttered and we're embarrassed about it. It doesn't look like an Instagram kitchen.
Right.
But let's have more conversations about what's going on, what we've got, what we can share, and normalize our perception of what's normal when it comes to kitchens.
Allow yourself to not get the Ninja Creamy because everyone else is getting it.
Yeah. That's a daily struggle for me, actually.
If you've lived without an air fryer for the majority of your life, you could probably keep living without an air fryer.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a new kitchen gadget to gather up.
Yes. So thank you for listening. I hope this has helped you. And if you end up decluttering your kitchen in 30 days, let us know about it by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Kind of like this one from my Yelp name says, made my day 10% more special. Man, that's what we're going for. Happens to be 5 stars. They say, listening to this is inspiring. You are fun, loving, and a great way to start my day.
I love the realistic percentage on this.
Yeah.
10%. Not this made my day 100% better. No, we're not going there. We're not doing extremes.
No, we're not those people. We are not 100% better people.
10%. But listen, if I could improve by any percentage someone's day, that's a win.
Right. 100% is a lot of responsibility. Yes. It's a lot of work.
We can't replicate
and I'm
that.
tired.
We can replicate 10% improvement. That's
absolutely
great. Yeah. Wow. Thank you, my Yelp name, for that very realistic 5-star review. And thank you all for listening. If you want to say something about the percentage of which we are improving your lives or your days, we'd love to hear about
Especially
it.
if it's 11%.
Through a review. Yeah, that'd be fun. Or even like 5 to 8%. That's just funny.
Didn't think it was 10% better, but for sure 5 to 8.
If we can match the rate of inflation with how we're improving your day, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. If we're improving our craft at the rate of inflation, then
we'll be okay.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. So let us know in a rating and review, again, on Apple or Spotify.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Sirianni. Speaking of improving, Travis came home yesterday and he's like, I found my new favorite podcast. And I was like, oh, which one? And he's like, Frugal Friends. And I was like, jerk. Like, come on, be honest. Because he's been listening to a lot of weird podcasts lately. And he's like, no, I just started listening again and it's really good. You guys have really progressed. I mean, it was good when I listened 5 years ago, but you guys have really progressed since then, and I really like it. And Travis is not one to mince words or lie to make me feel better. He gonna tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And he had no constructive criticism. He just really liked the episodes.
That's amazing. He's probably a little bit biased, but he didn't have to say anything. Eric never listens to Frugal Friends, so our spouses don't have to listen.
No, they don't.
But
I never ask him to listen.
Yeah.
I've never. And he just does because he's my number one fan.
That's so amazing.
And he bribes his students to listen to our show and leave ratings and reviews and buy our book. buywhatoulovebook.com.
Beautiful. Thanks, Travis.
Yay.
Oh. And, but wait, there's more.
But wait, we're contractually obligated to give you 30 seconds more.
Which I was actually going to say something else. So here you go.
Okay.
That is helpful and encouraging because I recently had an experience where we've been doing a lot more interviews, like guesting on other people's podcasts to sell this book, Buy What You Love Without Going Broke, buywhatoulovebook.com. And so a lot of opportunity to hear what people who are not avid listeners of the show have to say about it. And I was on, I won't say which podcast, but I was on a podcast recently, and this podcast audience did not care for me. It was just me because you and I, Jen, have been dividing and conquering.
Yeah, because there's just too many.
Sometimes
shows.
we guest together, sometimes we guest apart. And this was a guesting apart. And I mean, I can't say everyone disliked me.
But the criticism would have been applicable to me as well.
Potentially. I don't know. Some of them were just like, who is this girl? What is she even saying? I don't know if it was meant to be a dig or not, but there was just one comment that was
me.
She reminds me so much of Drew Barrymore.
I don't think that was a criticism.
That was
okay,
it.
But let's listen. But the criticism is hilarious.
A good majority of it did have to do with, and I didn't even mention Dave Ramsey in the podcast, but I think some of the ideas that I was talking about push back against some of Dave Ramsey's tenets, like talking about how we can individualize our finances. You could choose to invest for retirement and pay off debt. You don't have to, but that is an option. There is not a one size fits all. And I think that really enraged people who are very
who believe there's only one way to do everything.
But we know that community is not entirely our people
Not
who are
the
going to
same.
love us.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the most fun for me to read all of this feedback. And I told Eric about it. I'm just like, I'm feeling so insecure about that interview. It's not being well received. And he made the comment, first of all, he's like, you need to stay off of the internet and what people have to say about you. But also, he's like, I'm like, but I should take criticism. I should be able to hear what can be improved. Some of it I can't. I can't change how my voice sounds. I can't change whatever your impression is of me. But if there's things in here that I could shift, and he still was like, no, I think you listen to the people who do like you, the people who are already your people. What do they have to say about what could be improved?
Yeah.
Because you can't make shifts for people who are not already going to want to hear from you. So that was helpful. So it was like, oh yeah, I want to hear from the Frugal Friends community on what's constructive, what you all want to hear, what would make this a better podcast that could actually be implemented upon. So anyways, all that to say, it's cool to hear from Travis that he likes it. I'd be open to feedback from him, but it's also fun that he didn't.
I think you're burying the lead. What was my favorite feedback that you were given on that episode?
I don't remember.
I want to hear finance advice from someone with 9 children.
Yes, you're right. They were mad at me that I didn't have 9 children.
Specifically 9 children.
I want to hear financial advice from someone with 9 kids.
And so, yeah.
Like, that's going to take a lot of time. So it won't be coming from me.
Right. And yeah, at that point, you won't need financial advice. You'll need a lot of other advice. So, yeah. That was my favorite.
That's so true. I forgot about that. I'm so sorry for bearing that lead.
Yeah, no, that's the audience that was making those comments is that genre.
Yeah.
So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
Thanks, Boo.
9 grains of salt, specifically.
Thanks, Boo. Appreciate you.
This election season, the stakes are higher than ever.
I think the choice is clear in this election.
Join me, Charlamagne the God, for We the People, an audio town hall with Vice President Kamala Harris and you, live from Detroit, Michigan, exclusively on iHeartRadio. They'll tackle the tough questions, the pressing issues, and the future of our nation.
We may not see eye to eye on every issue, but America, we are not going back.
Don't miss this powerful conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on the free iHeartRadio app's Hip Hop Beat Station.
I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
What is wrong with me?
A show about the ways that mental illness is shaped by not just biology,
swaps of different meds,
but by culture and society. By looking closely at the conditions that cause mental distress, I find out why so many of us are struggling to feel sane, what we can do about it, and why we should care.
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you ever wonder where your favorite foods come from? Like, what's the history behind bacon-wrapped hot dogs? Hi, I'm Eva Longoria. Hi, I'm Maite Gomez-Rejon. Our podcast, Hungry for History, is back. And this season, we're taking an even bigger bite out of the most delicious food and its history.
Saying that the most popular cocktail is the margarita, followed by the mojito from Cuba and the piña colada from Puerto Rico.
Listen to Hungry for History on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey friends, I'm Jessica Capshaw.
And this is Camilla Luddington.
And we have a new podcast, Call It What It Is. You may know us from Graceland Memorial, but did you know that we are actually besties in real life?
And as all besties do, we navigate the highs and lows of life together. Big or small, we're there. And now here we are, opening up the friendship circle to you.
Listen to Call It What It Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Joe Gatto.
I'm Steve Byrne.
We are Two Cool Moms.
We certainly are.
And guess where we could find us now?
Oh, I don't know. The iHeart Podcast Network?
That's right. We're an official iHeart podcast, and I'm super excited about it.
I am too. I thought Two Cool Moms was such a fun podcast, but now it's even more funner and cooler and heartier.
That's right. It's more iHeartier.
I knew it. Check your heart rate. We're here at iHeart.
Yeah, you can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts or on the iHeartRadio app.